Hi, my name is Tasha Bland, and today I'm going to be talking about differentiated instruction. What is differentiated instruction? Differentiated instruction is teachers adjusting their curriculum and instruction so that they can maximize and improve students' learning, no matter if they are average learners, if they're struggling students, if they're students with disabilities, or gifted and talented students. It's adjusting their lesson plans, adjusting their curriculum to make sure that no matter what spectrum the learning of the students are on, that they all get what they need and they're all achieving. Differentiated instruction is not a single strategy, but rather a framework of ideas to help students succeed. Differentiated instruction is equal education, and equal education does not mean that all students get the same. It means that all students are getting what they need so that they succeed. It's not every single student, no matter what learning level that they are on, is going to get the same thing. It's if you have a struggling student over here, they're going to get what they need. They're going to get the extra help or the extra time or have someone help them read the questions for that test if they need it. And if many talented students excel in one aspect or one part or subject, and they have hard times in others sometimes. So if they don't need help in anything for that subject, that's fine. And then comes the next subject and they need help, they get that, because that's what equal education is. It's everybody getting what they need. And equal education is differentiated instruction. How teachers differentiate instruction and what it looks like. Ways that teachers can differentiate instruction, first off, is by flexible grouping. This grouping can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. Homogeneous is grouping students of the same academic level and understanding of the material together. And then heterogeneous is when you group students that excel at the material with students that are struggling to understand the material. And I think both are going to be very valuable if you have the homogeneous grouping. It could be students that they can either all excel at the material or they can all not understand the material or just kind of be in the middle. But whether they don't understand it or not, if you have students that aren't understanding the material all in one group, they're all going to bring something different to that group that helps them personally understand it. So they're eventually going to help everybody in their group understand it and gain a better understanding of that. And I think that is very helpful. Also with heterogeneous, though, you have students who already understand the material or find it easier for them to understand the material are helping students who struggle more with that. So you have them being kind of like your teacher's assistants in a way, helping the other students get that. So as a class, everybody's understanding what's going on, and everybody is getting the same out of the assignment. They're understanding the material, and they're getting what they need out of that assignment. Next would be assessing students' readiness. This can be through formal or informal assessments and should be frequent to make sure that all students are learning and understanding the material. This also helps teachers develop and refine their lesson planning so that all students are not only learning the material but also enjoying learning the material. And this also coincides with altering your lesson plans because you keep doing those informal or formal assessments to track and to make sure students are getting the material or understanding what you were teaching them. And if you see that you did this project or you read this book to them this day, well, nobody really did good with that. Nobody understood what you were trying to teach on that subject. So next year, if you teach the same thing, or next semester when it comes up that you have something planned that's similar, you're not going to do it, or you're going to alter it to make sure that students are understanding it and they're succeeding when they learn that. And the material isn't something that's above them, or it's not something that's boring for them. It's just something that they're always going to enjoy, and they're going to enjoy learning because the lesson plans are going to be altered for them. Another aspect of altering lesson plans is if you have, say, a test scheduled on a Tuesday, and you've done that like a week ahead, and you've been on schedule, and then something comes up, or the students aren't getting the last section of that chapter, or they aren't getting the final point that you're trying to make on that chapter, and it's going to be a vital point on the test. Well, you are going to move that test back 1 or 2 days because you want them to understand that. And it's important that they get the aspect of that and that they understand that for the test. Not only for the test, but later on, because it's going to help them understand more things farther and farther on in their education. So you're going to alter your lesson plans that way as well to differentiate instruction in your classroom. All right, when teachers begin differentiating instruction, there are 3 main elements to adjust so that they can meet the needs of their learners. First is going to be content, and content is the knowledge and skills the students need to master. And then next is process. Process are the activities students use to master the content. And then lastly is product, which is the method students use to demonstrate that they are learning. And when you start differentiating instruction in your classroom, all these 3 elements are very vital and very important, of course, because it's all part of your students' learning and how you can help them and all these ways to help them learn even more while using differentiating instruction. Some examples that are not differentiated instruction, or some examples that are not practices of differentiated instruction. First would be delivering instruction by lecturing. I myself am a hands-on learner, so when I first got to college and my first class, I'm from a really small school, so my graduating class was 10 people. So when I first come here to Hayes, and my first class is a class of 70 people, and the teacher just stands in front and lectures, I understood that, because how are you going to get the hands or the one-on-one that you need with 70 other students? But there's other ways to do it. Lecturing for me, I understand the knowledge and material out of it still, but it's not the same as if we did group activities, or if we had hands-on learning for it, or if we did partner activities or anything like that, so that you could understand the material better rather than just we're sitting in our desk and we're watching you click through your PowerPoint and we're listening to your talk. That gets boring for students, no matter what age you are. Of course it's going to get boring for little kids whose attention spans aren't nearly as long as when you mature and progress, but no matter what your age is, it's not fun. It's not something that any student, no matter what their age is, enjoys. And some learn fine by lecturing, and that's just how they learn. But to make it more fun and enjoyable to learn that information, I feel like activities are so much better than that, and lecturing is just not an example of differentiated instruction. Next is going to be not permitting students to retake a test they failed. Personally, I think that if you have a class full of students and 80% of them did bad on the test, that it's not showing that the students didn't study, even though some of them probably didn't, and that's why they failed. But it's showing that you as a teacher, you didn't do a good job of teaching the material to them or helping them prepare to take the test for the material, that it was over, because they didn't get a good understanding of it, or they weren't prepared, or they weren't ready, or whatever. They didn't pass that test because you as a teacher did not take the time, or you didn't let them retake the test. If they all fail the test, it's showing that as a teacher you didn't do your job. So letting them retake the test after you go over the material, say that they all missed, like all the class missed question 32 or 25 or something like that. Go over that material on those subjects of what question 25 and 32 pertain to, and they're going to do better on the next test, because that's just something they didn't get an understanding of. Or maybe it's something you didn't even go over, and it would be something that they had to read in their book, and they all skipped over that or something like that. But it gives that to them so that they understand the whole chapter rather than sections or just other points of the chapter. They understand the whole thing, and it gives them the opportunity, like, hey, I understand that you didn't pass this test. I'm going to give you another chance. We're going to review a little more. But for future references, we'll always try to make sure that you are prepared for your test. Let me skip that. Giving tests every Friday is the last one. And in a small school, that's kind of common because we have Friday football games. So you're going to give tests every Friday because it just works better throughout the week. Well, some think that giving tests every Friday is a good idea because students know, hey, I can start studying even Monday, study throughout the week because no matter what, the test is going to be on Friday. And for some, that scheduling of that works out for them. But with me being in a small school, something always came up. We'd have a field trip on Tuesday. We'd have a fire alarm that took part of our government class or English class or whatever on Wednesday. We had to leave early for a volleyball game on Tuesday. We had a junior high home game that took up some of our class time on Thursday. Or whatever happens, it took class time. So we weren't able, we'd have a test scheduled for Friday over the whole chapter. We're still in section 2, and we're not ready for that test by any means. So do you give them the test on Friday, or do you go over the material and make sure that they all understand it? If you're teaching with differentiated instruction, you'd be going over the material and pushing that test back a couple days. If you're just teaching in your own methods, you'd give the test every Friday, no matter what, if they understood it or not, or you just, hey, we'll just give you a quiz for section 1 and 2 because we didn't get to go over that, and we're just going to keep moving on. We're not taking the time to do that. And that's just any teacher's personal, whatever they want to do, but differentiated instruction would be taking that test back a couple of days to make sure that all the students learn that information. All right, and that's all I got. Thank you.